Hey all, it's time for another edition of Singles Only Podcast. Paul Farahvar here, your host. This episode has comedian Audrey Stewart. We did this by Zoom, so if you're listening, you could actually watch this on YouTube on my channel, which is Paul F. Comedy, youtube.com/Paul F. Comedy. Fun episode. Audrey is awesome. If you don't know who she is, make sure you find out about her. She's fucking hilarious and so talented and so cool to do this podcast. Yeah, all's good. We're back in the real world. Shows are back. You can catch me if you get this today. I'm headlining Side Splitters in Tampa, one of the best comedy clubs in the country. I'm excited to headline it for the first time. Then I'm off to Anthony's in Cape Coral on August 11th, and then headlining Laugh Out Lounge August 12th and 13th in Winter Haven, Florida. So if you know people in Tampa, Cape Coral, or Winter Haven, tell them to come see me. Back in Chicago, August 18th through the 20th at the world famous Laugh Factory, and then headlining CG's in Bolingbrook, August 26th and 27th. Back at Side Splitters, opening for my friend April Macy, Labor Day weekend, and then headlining House of Comedy and JP's Comedy Club, end of September in Arizona. Tell your friends. Then I'm in Oklahoma City and Arkansas. So tell your friends to come see me. Paul F. Comedy has all my upcoming dates. You can get my shirt, Better Call Paul, at the website, paulfcomedy.com, or email me at pfarvar@gmail.com. Email me anyway. If you got any questions, concerns, or ideas, pfarvar@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Love to see what you want to hear on the podcast. We're approaching 7 years on this thing. So I'm trying to accommodate everything and keep it fresh. As you'll notice, some of the changes in the podcast, or maybe you don't even notice. You're just listening to this to go to bed because I've heard I have a soothing voice. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I'll take it as one. Yeah, check out my sponsors too. Hey, it's time for another edition of Singles Only Podcast. Paul Farahvar here. We have no voice of reason on this episode because we're doing it via Zoom with one of my favorite human beings and hilarious comedian all the way from Los Angeles, Hollywood, California. Please welcome comedian Audrey Stewart.
Yeah!
Most people don't know what's going on because they're listening by audio, but if you are listening by audio, go watch on Zoom on my YouTube page. So Audrey, first of all, I owe you tremendous gratitude because I was in New York City and I had an off night, and I saw that you were headlining Caroline's and you gave me a guest spot on your show, which is, it was on my bucket list to perform at that venue, and it was so fun. So thank you so much for that. First up.
Oh, you did so good, and obviously, I was so glad it worked out.
Oh yeah,
that was a special night. That was good.
Yeah, first of all, you crushed. I only got to see a second of it because someone put it on Instagram, but your crowd was all there. It was like Indiana in New York, which would be like surreal, but it was so fun. Your crowd was awesome, I almost missed it because I'm such an idiot. I remember I thought the show was on Wednesday or something like that for some reason, and I was eating lunch with my friend and he's like, wait, it's on the 7th or whatever. I'm like, yeah. He goes, that's today. Literally, I was in uptown Manhattan and I just like cruised back to my hotel, changed, and went to the show. So it was kind of one of those funny things. But
oh my God, yeah. I mean, sometimes those like weekday shows are confusing, like the Tuesdays, Wednesdays. I always mix up some.
I just thought it was on a Wednesday for some reason, and yours was on a Tuesday, I think. And so I was like, oh my God. And then it all worked out. I just had to like book it to go to Brooklyn afterwards. But
I was so glad you came.
Oh, you are so awesome. I want to tell another story about you before we get into this. We were in Las Vegas together. I was hosting a show and you did a guest spot. And Las Vegas, as you know, and most people who don't know, it's a different animal, you know. It's not where, how do you say it? It's different than LA comedy or New York City comedy. So it's just a weird vibe and you have to adjust. And
it can be really off.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
They reward bad comedy more than they reward good comedy.
Amen. Amen.
Does that make sense?
And half the people who come into the show are on like vouchers that they won.
Yeah, right. And you still had a great set, and it was fun because like I remember you were auditioning and you were just like me and the other comedians, Eric Meyer, rest in peace, was there, and we were like both watching and be like, oh wow, like this is so cool. And then I saw your projection after that in LA. I saw you do the Laugh Factory in Hollywood. I was like, this is fucking so cool. I saw you when you kind of just were starting to get your people were starting to know how great you are. So
oh, thank you so much for saying that, Paul. I mean, yeah, and RIP Eric, I drove up with him. Or did I drive up? No, we met him there. It was with Alex Powers.
Yes, Alex too. She crushed too. Yeah.
Yes. And then I actually went back to Vegas during the week, and it was not as magical, to be honest. I had to host, and I was like, ew.
Yeah.
It was like midweek.
Yeah, I host there a lot. It after a week of shows there, you learn to like deal with anything. It's just one of those things. You do 16 shows in a week. It was awesome. And you're awesome, which brings me to the question, how are you single? How is that possible?
Paul, isn't that the question of the century?
It's the question of the podcast. So
I'll tell you what, I am single and on a whole different, I was in a relationship. I was in a long relationship in college, and it was with my best friend, and it was a male.
Okay.
It was great. It was fun.
How long was that relationship? Sorry.
3 years.
Oh, that's a long fucking relationship. Okay.
It was a long time. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And then it was kind of, dating your best friend is tough too, especially a guy best friend, because there was like the line. Sometimes we would make fun of each other, and I'd be like, where's the line here?
Yeah.
Like, we're supposed to be dating, so it shouldn't be like, so I'm like, maybe it was a little bit toxic, but he's a great person, but in a relationship, I think it was a little bit toxic.
You don't want your boyfriend to fart on you, but you're okay if your best friend does.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, kind of like that. Or like say things about like your appearance. Like, because his best friend sometimes like, oh, wear that.
Yeah.
Like it's a joke.
Yeah.
So, and then I moved to LA, and I had a little sexual confusion, and lived with all gay men. And then I was like, okay, going to the gay bars a lot. So now I'm like, okay, am I gay because I'm living with a bunch of gay people, or like I'm interested in women because I'm living with these people? But then, I gave it a go on my own and moved out from the boys and moved in with a bunch of straight boys. And I still was like curious, bi-curious, whatever you want to call it. First, I thought I was, okay, I'll just tell you. I was bi-curious. And then she was also a friend. She did comedy. She does comedy. She was like, let's go to these queer nights or whatever, like all girls. And I was like, okay. And then we did. And then we formed feelings for each other. And then I wasn't kind of ready. I was kind of stuck in this, like, I don't know if I ever want to give women a shot kind of thing. And then we just did it. We were like, screw it. And then we dated for like 2.5 years, which in same-sex relationship is
a lifetime.
A century.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hundreds of thousands of years. And it was good, but she like kind of was falling off towards the second half and almost was like disassociating herself and like wasn't fully, and I was like, I don't even know what's going on. And then she just moved to New York.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, clearly it might not even be about me. It's probably, and if it is, there's nothing I can do. I also think it's difficult dating somebody in the same industry as you, same gender.
Absolutely. Well, we say not to do that here on the podcast. I say never date other comedians, and that's like the one rule, because we're like Singles Only Podcast is the PR department for comedy because we don't have it.
So. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's a journey dating somebody, and because you also you start feeling guilty about certain things you get or they get or you don't get, and it gets messy, but it worked for a while. And then she just cut me off cold. So she broke up with me. I said my piece. I don't think she liked the piece that I said. And, I always say this because we have the same coworkers, as you said. My goal is never to trash her to other coworkers. But it is to be like, this is what happened. This is how she did it. And she's still a great person. But in our relationship, the way that it ended, I'm like, okay. And now I'm single, and now I'm having a little fun, and I'm hooking up with both genders.
Okay. When you say you said your piece, what do you mean by that? I mean, you just told her how you felt, or you told?
Yeah, I was just kind of like I said, I don't want to use this podcast to trash her because
no. I'm not saying do that. I'm just
no. Yeah, I just wanted a preference with that. But she just I think if you date somebody for so long and they're all you talk to for every single day and they're just your best friend, I think if I were her, I would have at least checked in and been like, are you okay? I wouldn't just never talk to that person again. And or every time we talked, it was from me. And then I'd get no response. And she'd be like, I was out all day doing things and twisting it. Like I'm the one who's crazy for, I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of savage.
Yeah.
What it is. It's savage. It's
but,
really,
I mean, yeah, no, that is, and it is hard. And maybe someday you'll have that piece where you can kind of be like, maybe she was protecting you. Who knows?
I think you're right. I think, a lot of advice I've gotten from other people is, I've talked to friends and they're like, that's how I did it.
Yeah.
Like,
some people, that's how they break up. They just need to rip off the Band-Aid and be like,
how they cope.
I don't do that, but yeah.
Because I don't think she's a horrible person. Like I said, I don't think she's this awful person, but but we're two different people. But
Absolutely.
I also was just thinking this. I don't know if I have because I'm such kind of a pushover kind of person. I'm like, do I love people so much where I would never be able to even break up with the person?
I'm that way. I let them break up with me.
Yeah. Is that, how many relationships have you been in?
Well, I've been in a lot, but nothing over 2 years. But I usually let things die out where they have to break up with me. It's the slow fade, where you're like,
yeah.
I'm not I don't like the confrontation of breaking up. I've done it before, but more often than not, I'm the one I'd much rather be broken up with than to do the breaking up.
Agreed.
Well, you said something earlier. You said you wanted to give women a shot when you went to LA. You grew up in Indiana.
Yeah.
Did that play a role in you giving women a shot? Were you allowed to do you think that you had feelings before and you suppressed them because Indiana is Indiana?
I don't I think about that a lot, and I have bits about why I think I'd be suppressed. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade, and we had a religion teacher tell us that Hurricane Katrina happened because that's the day the gays were gathering.
What?
Yeah. And so and I remember actually
holy shit.
I know. And I'm I love, her son is in her grade, but he's really cool. I don't think any of my classmates even I don't remember any of my classmates being like, what, that's right. Yeah. So I was because everybody turned out to be great and open-minded. I think it's that teacher. I was like,
where in Indianapolis is this, or where in Indiana is this? This is not
Indianapolis at a Catholic school.
Okay, so that's a big city, but okay, that's insane.
Insane. It was insane. What was that? 90 or no 2000s?
Yeah. Wow.
And so I just kind of was like, all right, but I didn't think about it too hard. And then I went to high school and I had the best experience. I went to a big public high school, 4,000 people. Nobody was telling you can't be gay. Nobody was out though. Nobody said they were really gay. The boys, there was really no girls. There was no girls that were in the circles I ran in, or just even any circles that I knew that were, I swear it was just 4 guys. Like, no,
Okay.
and it was a huge school. But I honestly don't know if I just people just weren't either. They weren't.
Do people, now that it's been years since high school, have they now come out? I'm sure like people have come out.
Yeah. I think I
Or
will say
bi or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I think people were just kind of like exploring further. It sounds like a lot of people just started exploring more and more, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, this makes sense." And you know, I started dating Veronica, and I was like, "Oh, this is it. I'm gonna marry this." Oh shit, I said her name.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What did you, okay, we'll cut it out.
Okay, that's so. You know, in my podcast, it's so funny. We say so many things. We're like, cut that out, and then we rewatch it. None of it is cut out. It almost makes it funnier, to be honest. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't care. But I did. You know, I said my piece in our relationship. Like I said, I don't think she's bad.
Was it the first person that you had lesbian relationship with? Was this the woman you ended up dating, or did you have other experiences before that?
Really, just her.
Okay, when you say really, was it just her, or was there like, so I mean, that's kind of like a jump, you know, maybe that's a lot for someone. Was she already was out of the closet for a while, I assume?
Yeah, she just never labeled herself.
Okay, gotcha.
She was hooking up with other women, though. She's doing both.
Okay.
And you know, doing stand-up comedy, it's a lot because it's like, okay, I'm in a gay relationship now. I got to talk about it, and then now all of a sudden, and I'm pretty sure inside my bits I called myself gay or whatever, but I don't know if I really meant that. I think I was in a gay relationship,
Yeah.
and it was coming out. It was a coming out period. Like nobody even expected it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it ended up being like emotional and dramatic, and I posted about a lot. But I also was like, when I got used to it more, I was like, this is my business. And I kind of deleted those posts. And I was like, you know, my sexuality is forever evolving and changing because I am so open and I love I just love people.
Yeah.
But, you know, like now I'm just like, I am at a point where I am nervous and I'm scared because I feel like, not that I labeled myself so hard, but like I do want, maybe I want to fall in love with somebody, and maybe it's a boy, maybe it's a girl, and I'm afraid that I've labeled myself too one way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But people go back and forth, like sexuality is fluid, and maybe that's something that as you grow you'll change again, you know.
I agree. I think it's fascinating being a stand-up comedian though, because we post so many bits out there. Like I have so many bits out there that are like, I'm dating women. Yeah. And I'm like, what if I were to fall in love with a guy and he were to go online and see all these bits?
Yeah.
Does it even matter?
I don't think someone that's comfortable in their skin is not going to be like, well, this makes me feel fucking weird, you know?
Yeah.
Unless they had that fucking teacher that said Katrina was caused by the gays, then maybe he does have problems.
Then he's like,
that's like a form of child abuse to me. I just don't understand.
Yeah, totally.
So what are you doing now to date people? Are you using apps, or are you like just out in the world? LA is different.
I'm on Hinge for attention, but I'm too poor to carry through. So
what do you mean by that?
Like I just don't want to go, male or female, I don't want to go on dates and then get stuck with a bill.
Oh, I see.
I'm too poor. Like we could go to picnics and shit. But also, I don't know if are you single, Paul?
I am, yeah.
Okay, that'd be crazy if you were like in a 10-year relationship and you had a podcast on single.
My wife is, yeah.
Your wife comes in and just brings us she brings you a cheese platter.
Where's the fucking meatloaf? Yeah.
Like Paul's a poser. Paul's a fucking poser.
I date a lot. I go on a lot of dates and I date people. I'll have relationships, but we just, you know, whatever. But I use the apps too. And I definitely, my one rule is that I won't date comedians. So.
Yeah. And you know, I do know really good comedian relationships that are working out for them. And it's cute and it's great to watch.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I just don't.
It's the exception to the norm.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can relate to this. I think this is where dating comedian is nice. Actually, I know you definitely can relate to this. I just feel like going on dates is hard sometimes when our job is very exhausting. Like like taking time out, and I know we need to do that to form bits and things like that. And honestly, that's what I remind myself that I should go on these dates purely to get a bit from it. But sometimes I'm like, I have a group of friends out here that aren't in stand up. And I have a group of friends that are in stand up. And then we do shows, and then I do side hustles, and I work really hard to keep those friends priorities and keep the comedy friends priorities, and then my shows priorities, where I'm like, where does this dating life fit in?
Yeah.
But I'm starting to be like, I need to fit it in, or bits, but also because I just turned 29 and I'm like, I do want kids eventually.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I want a family. Like I want a fucking family.
Okay.
Like, and I see a lot of comedians have families. I see a lot of comedians don't, but I don't want to be in the category where I'm a family.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, that's probably why. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm in a blended family, one of 7.
Oh,
Like my mom's one of 10. I have like 46 first cousins. We have that where I'm going to my sister's wedding at my dad has a lake house. Like it's just family is all I've grown up around. And I would hate to not have that. But also I would never be able to give up comedy. So it's just I'm in a rock.
It's a fucked up. Yeah, you know what? It's funny. Everything you say I relate to. I get it all. And for me, I made the decision long ago that I don't want to have kids, and that's opened up a lot of doors for me. But when you do want, and I shouldn't say I don't want kids, it's just not a priority. If it happens, it happens. Especially now with Roe v. Wade, I'm like, oh well, I'm not wearing a condom still, so let's see what happens. But no, I'm just saying. But like, I think that changes the picture for you. But still, you're 29. You have a lot of time if you're gonna have kids and stuff. You got at least with modern science, you've got like 20 years maybe. But you'll be like an old mom.
Yeah, no, see, I want to pop them out by like, this is aggressive. I want to start popping out by like 34.
Okay, you still have time.
I know. I guess you could fall in love and like
absolutely.
But I'm just worried. I'm like, where
you can do it. You're in a town here. The problem with the biggest problem with dating comedians or dating normal people is they don't understand our hustle. They don't understand our hours. We're not physically available and sometimes not emotionally available. But you're in a town where there's all these other creative types that are like comedy adjacent or, musicians or actors or whatever that you can just kind of like work around. So you date creatives. You don't have to date a comedian or someone, a producer.
Right.
And you've got the advantage of not just one sex. You're attracted to two.
The doors. I just gotta really get over the fear that somebody's gonna find my social medias and TikToks and like get scared and run away from me.
I don't understand why. I mean, they would get afraid. Certain people would be afraid regardless of the content, right? Like because you're out there and you're very open and stuff like that. But you just talking about one sex that you're with, no guy's gonna be like, if anything, they're gonna think it's cool. They'll be like, well, I converted her, like whatever.
That's fucking funny. I was thinking about the last guy I hooked up with. He's probably like, damn it, I converted her.
I didn't date. I went on a few dates with a woman who was a lesbian, was a guys only when she was younger, was a lesbian. That was her first male experience in like since college. It was pretty cool, actually. I kind of liked it. But
Did she like it?
She went back to women, I think, after that. But
you liked it? You kind of liked it?
Yeah, I thought it was. I was talking to her all night. I met her at a comedy show where the headliner was a lesbian, so the whole crowd was all lesbians, and I was the opener. And then I was just talking to her all night. I didn't even think that anything was going to happen because she's just attractive, and I just do better talking to women after shows, not trying to, have sex. And then next thing I know, like we're back at my house. I'm like, is this happening?
Right.
So it wasn't something I planned on. And then we went on a couple of dates after that, but then it was like she had a normal job, and then I had a weird schedule, and then I think she was like, yeah, I don't like dicks anymore. Or just maybe it was me. I don't know.
Wow. No, it's not just you. That's so funny. She's like, yeah, I'm actually gonna go back to dating women, and then you see on her Instagram she's married to a man.
Well, I will say this: two of the women that I've had the longest relationships with, I've had when I was in college and law school, are both lesbians. Now,
Wow. You think they're bi or they're for sure lesbian?
no, one is married in a
Oh,
committed
okay, yeah.
relationship. The other one, I think, is bi, but she was married and then she became a lesbian. So
How isn't that so? I feel like everybody's kind of becoming a lesbian.
it's the new thing. If I could be gay, I'd be gay. I think it would be helpful. You know
So funny.
what?
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know
so
what I literally I just don't it's such a it's I feel like it doesn't need to be this huge battle that I make it either.
absolutely, I agree.
I
I
don't
think
know.
you're making it bigger than it is. Is that my phone? What is going on? I don't
I
know.
don't think it's mine.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, somebody the only notification I got was somebody finally fulfilled my Venmo request. That was outstanding for months.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so and that was dramatic because I was outstanding for 2 days. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
so you said you are making this bigger than it needs to be, in my opinion. So
that's really good to hear. This is a very therapeutic podcast for me right now. I feel
absolutely,
like I'm in therapy.
people say that all the time. So now you said you don't go on the Hinge dates or anything because you don't have money, but guys typically will pay if you go out with guys.
That's true. I think what I'm kind of going for right now is like going out to the bars on my off nights or late at nights and taking it from there.
Hell yeah.
I'd rather do it that way first than the slow way. Is that psychotic? Maybe.
No, it's not. Have you gone on any dates where I mean, I know I like the idea of going on dates where, like, okay, well, worst case scenario, you got some material out of it. Like, have you gone on dates where you're like, this is why I hate fucking dating? Like, have you had a crazy date in the last year that's like, yeah, this is bad?
In the last year, no, because the breakup is really fresh. The breakup
Okay.
is only like
Right, right.
a couple months. But before that, let me think. Because I wasn't much of a dater. It's more like hookups. Yes, I had.
Hookups, that's fine. How are you
Yeah,
meeting people at
yeah.
hookups?
One
At
time
shows or
before I dated that
I,
comedian, I worked for a radio station, and I don't know if I won't say it. Okay, Power
don't say
106.
the okay.
I
I don't
worked.
know where you're going with this, so I don't know if we have to edit that out.
If we need to, I'll re-say it again. I worked for a radio station, and there was a guy who I did like it was my first corporate job out of college, and it was really cool. And but they stuck me in the sales department as sales assisting, but also sometimes they would let me go on air. It was a whole thing. They barely had a budget to pay me, but I got to meet like hip hop artists. It was so cool. So whatever. This guy is kind of like he's cute. He was cute, and he's around my age, a year older, and I was kind of taking over his position, so he was kind of training me for the week, and it was one of the DJ's birthdays, and I like when I talk, I'm a talker. I talk like I'm just
Okay.
like to the hip hop department. I was like, I'm gonna fucking rail this guy, and everybody's like, yeah, rail. I'm like, yeah. And so I think it got back to him. I think somebody literally went to his cubicle and was like, Audrey's telling everybody she wants to rail you into the ground. And so then we went to this DJ's birthday party. I had never drank Hennessy. That was the first time I ever drank Hennessy. And I drank so much Hennessy.
Okay.
So much. I mean, this is all consensual, by the way. I remember everything I did, but my cloud judgment was definitely impaired. And I did what I said. I was like, I'm going to rail this guy. And we were in the Uber together. And then we got back to my house and then we like hooked up, but then I threw up. Literally
On him?
Everywhere.
Oh, that's so
and then
hot.
he had to train me for three more days. I mean, talk about it. He was like, you just gotta
yeah. Well, you're not
file. And I was like,
yeah, you're not supposed to shit where you work, but that's the whole comedy thing.
that's a whole comedy thing. But that was bad. College, I had a lot of weird like when I was on a break from my boyfriend, because he would go on breaks, even though we dated a long time. And I had one where I hooked up with a guy in a bunk bed, and I did my vocal surgery, and I couldn't talk for a month, and I had like a dry erase board around my neck. I have a bit about that, but there was another incident where I was on a bunk bed, and it's dark. In a frat, when you hook up with the guy, it's like all dark, all black, and there's fans going. It's like a
Absolutely.
bunker.
Yeah, I know. I was in a fraternity. I know how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, of course you were. And he flipped, or I was in the bottom or whatever, and I wanted to flip over and be on the other side. So I flip over. He falls off the bunk bed, and I am not able to speak from my vocal surgery. And he's not saying anything. I think I hear like, but like there's a ceiling fan going, and you just hear my little dry erase marker just being like, and then I just like left, and I was like, is he dead? I don't know. And then I like Googled, did man die from bunk bed? And I ended up seeing him on campus again. So I was like, you're alive.
That's all that you cared about was making sure you
Yes.
didn't kill somebody.
Yeah, so it's never been like bad dates. It's been like atrocious hookups. Like I really I'm all talk. Like I need to, like in terms of dating, like, yeah, I'm gonna get back on the horse. I'm doing it. But I haven't like.
Well, what are your types? What is your type? Obviously, is there something that here, if you line people up clearly, it won't work for you when like you have a type where everyone looks the same because they're already different genders. What do you definitely, I go by like, by power of elimination, right? Like, what are the things that you're like, okay, this is what I'm not attracted to?
Actually,
Or
now that you say that, my types could morph into each other. So literally, wait, I know that sounds weird, but go on this journey with me. I like, okay, it could be somebody from, if I'm dating a girl, it could be someone kind of with my vibe and style where I'm never too masculine, but I can be femme and tomboyish, but I prefer to date somebody femme, like feminine.
Okay.
If I'm dating a girl, I'd probably like to be the bigger one. So, and then into the men, I like femme men.
Okay.
The men, hairless, femme men going into, okay, a little bit nerdy. Maybe he can have some chest hair, into last resort, but could fall in love with like a mountain man that's just here to get drunk and have a good time.
Okay. So that's everything, basically.
I guess that's what, yeah. Except for no, I'm not in the female spectrum. I only date. I will not date. Not that I don't think, I'm just not attracted to masculine women.
Feminine women, feminine men, also very manly men.
Masculine,
so 3 out of 4.
Yeah, and
Okay.
hairy men do freak me out sometimes.
Hey, that's racist against me. I'm a monkey. I'm half gorilla. So
You're a Yeti.
yeah, basically.
I mean, here's the thing. I want to go hiking and be adventurous and like camp for 10 days and lose my belongings. And that just so happens that those kind of people have a lot of hair.
Yeah, they know we're very good in certain humidities and situations, I guess.
Yeah. If I want to go camping, they're gonna have chest hair.
What are your deal breakers then for guys or girls? Like, what are you like, okay, I can't do this. Like, is it looks or music or just things that they do? Are there certain things that you're like, I'm not doing that again? Or
drama? Anybody talks poorly about somebody else in front of somebody, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out, male or female. I'm out. And I need to be better about that myself sometimes. Not that I'm a gossiper, but like, or I'll like, I'm so against it.
It's negative energy. I get it.
Negative energy. I'm out. Too dry of a personality. Can't get on board. Like, I think it's, first of all, my friends that have too dry personalities, favorite people. Hilarious. Comedians that have dry personalities, so funny. But can I date that person?
For dating, yeah.
No, because I'm just going to be sensitive the whole time. Like, okay, are you being dry or are you being a bitch?
Yeah.
And then, let's see. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, just like oh, God, this one's a tough one because people cannot help their family situations. But I really want somebody who loves their family and has, and wants to have a family. And actually,
that's
that's what
important.
my ex also said. She was like, one of the reasons I broke up with you is because you wanted kids. I don't really think I told her I really wanted that. So I'm like, I think you're just saying excuses, but it's true, I do.
Well, maybe that's something like you gotta, if you don't want the same thing, sometimes you gotta like step away.
I don't think she does. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, so family, we've covered the things. So there's no real deal breakers in terms of like, what about if they're funnier than you or they're
No.
not funny? You don't care.
No, I don't care about that.
What if they don't know anything about comedy? Where they're like, oh, I saw Carrot Top once.
That's amazing.
You would like that.
There are some comedians that we know and love that date people who have no idea about comedy, and it sounds they honestly, their relationships are like thriving.
Yeah, because they don't get involved in the drama. They don't know.
Also they have a fresh perspective. They're like, wait, so why are you getting upset about that? Sounds like that person's just crazy, and you're like you're fucking right. The person is just crazy. So
you're right. Yeah, it's like perspective to something that we get in our heads about.
Oh yeah.
Having someone that's not in the comedy world is definitely beneficial. But I mean, I do understand people that want to date comedians because they understand it. And I one of my friends is married to one, and he was on the podcast talking about how great their relationship is. But he gets why people say don't do it, because that's the exception to the rule. Most bad breakups, it's like, and it's uncomfortable for everyone else around too, because you're like, oh, Audrey's on this show with so and so. You're like, oh, now we gotta fucking separate them, and it's just
weird. I know, and that's what's gonna be so funny if this comedian visits LA. I'm like odds are we might even end up on the same show. I don't know what I would do.
Well, it's still fresh, you guys have only been separated for a sort of time. Maybe it'll be better by the time that happens.
My favorite thing is somebody was like, yeah, if you don't text her for like a month, she's gonna be texting you. I'm like, no.
that's like from a movie from the 90s. They're like, this is what you gotta do. Find a girl that looks exactly like her and just fuck her.
So fucking
just rail her.
Just rail her into the ground. That's how I speak. I speak like that now.
I know, but
I'm like, funny. I'm gonna drill this guy into hell. Like I say shit like that. And actually this girl that I have a bit about how in college I would always say I was sucking dick for sport. And I was reiterating it, and this girl that I don't know what I don't really have a crush on her, but we have like mutual friends, and she'll be like, why do you keep saying out loud that you like suck dick for sport? I was like, that's just how I speak now.
Right.
Single Audrey is an animal.
I love it.
She's
I love
aggressive.
it. You have a lot of time to be single, Audrey. I know you think that you've got this, you want to have kids at 34, but you still have 5 fucking years at least. And that's like just to, you can meet someone and fall in love. When you're in your 30s, it's like people move quicker. You've evolved. When you're in your 20s, your brain hasn't fully formed yet. You're still like, you got a year before your brain is fully intact. So
I mean, I went to EDM concerts in my early 20s, so my brain just might be dead.
It might never form, but at least it'll be more formed after you hit 30. And then that's when decisions will be easier, and you'll stop railing guys and sucking dick for sport, and you'll figure it all out.
Amen.
We're out of time. Where can people find out more about you? I want to have you back on the podcast when I'm in. I'll be back. I'll be in LA in October. I want to do a live one with you and do an update so people could see what's new.
I would love that. I also you need to come on mine too.
Absolutely. Anytime. Where can people find out more about you and your upcoming shows and social media and stuff?
You go to my Instagram. It's Audrey Stew is art, because Audrey Stewart was taken, and then but now people think my last name is Audrey Stewizard.
Oh yeah, it does look like that. Now that I think about it.
Host would be like, Audrey Stewizard. And then I'll try to explain it, and then the audience will be like, ugh. I'm like, ugh.
Already tuned out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you get them right back when you're like, I suck dick for sport.
I sure do. I posted that bit today and got insecure and deleted it.
No, it's funny.
Yeah, but it is. But I'm trying to go back to men too, Paul. And
what are you gonna matter? It's not gonna matter.
Okay, I'm gonna take your advice on this.
You're welcome. Thank you, Audrey, for coming on the podcast.
This was
Thank you all.
very therapeutic.
I love it. I'm glad that I provide something to the society.
You do.
Thank you all for listening to another edition of Singles Only Podcast.
Okay, I know it's all fun and games. My Better Call Paul spiels on stage, or my shirts that say Better Call Paul. Donating a lot of the money for charity, by the way. PaulFcomedy.com. You can get your shirt, as always. But here's the thing. If you actually need a lawyer, you have to get professional help. So if you're injured on the job, you don't know what kind of compensation you're entitled to, or you're injured in a car accident. Don't handle something on your own, and don't call some random person that you see in commercials on daytime TV. Call someone that really knows what they're doing. Someone that's helped workers who are injured for over 20 years in Chicago and beyond. My good friend, attorney Scott Shapiro. He is your man. Give him a call. Here's the thing. He also handles entertainment law, whether you're a comedian, a musician, a podcaster, a wrestler, an actor, anything. He's handled all these things for 20 years here in Chicago. He is your guy. Give him a call, 312-627-1650, or email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. All consultations initially free of charge. Your first consultation is free. You have nothing to lose. Don't take any chances. Call my friend Scott Shapiro, 312-627-1650, scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome.
But I'm still standing.